In communication with Southern California, KHJ-TV Public Affairs presents Teen Talk. Studies show that 25% of all women in college have been victims of rape or attempted rape. 90% of them knew their assailants. The number of rapes reported to the police jumped from 55,000 in 1974 to 83,000 in 1984. Approximately half of all rape cases go unreported.
1 out of every 3 women in Southern California will be raped, and the rape victim will probably know her assailant. If it happens, the first feeling for the woman, or even the man who has experienced it, will be denial and a refusal to believe it ever existed. I'm Joseph Feinstein, and today on Teen Talk we're going to take a closer look at a subject we wish would just go away, but it doesn't. Rape is not a crime of sex. It is a crime of force, brutality, and exploitation. And some of our panel of young people have experienced that pain and loss of dignity. I'd also like to introduce some of our experts on rape. Today we have Diane McBain from the Response Center and Leslie Bockian from the Los Angeles Commission on Assaults Against Women. I want to welcome you ladies, and I want to welcome you panel to our Teen Talk program for today. And I'm wondering, could you start off with, let's find out what's happened to you. Did you know your attacker? What exactly did you experience with rape? Leslie, tell us about yours.
Yes, my attacker was my boyfriend, my first boyfriend, and it was on my first date.
How old were you?
I was 16, and we were at a movie, and my pants broke, a zipper of mine, and I went into the backseat of his car to fix them and asked him nicely to be a gentleman about it, stay in the front, and he
What did
came
he
back.
say?
He said, "Oh yes, of course," you know, and I really thought he would because he was a gentleman to me. And 5 minutes later, he came back and pulled me up to the front seat and was just going crazy, attacking, trying to pull off whatever clothes I had on, pinned me down.
Why do you think he was doing this?
I really don't know why he did it. I mean, I never gave him the impression that I was ever going to have sex with him. I mean, I thought we just had a really fun relationship.
It was just a nice time at the movie.
Yeah, it was our first date. I thought,
First date.
Yeah, it was going to be fine and fun. And I thought, oh gosh, we're going to have a really good time. And he just turned very different. And
a lot of young men, a lot of older men turn different, and they become different. I don't know why totally. I don't have the answers. We'll find out. We'll search for those in a little bit. What happened to you, Catherine?
I was 12 years old. I was staying alone in my home, and I was in my room sitting down at my desk, and a man who had apparently broken in a while before came into my room and said, "Don't scream or I'll kill you." And he had a knife, and he demanded for money, and I told him we didn't have any in the house. And he said, "Well, then in that case, why don't you just go lay down on your bed then?"
Lay down on your bed. You thinking that he was just going to take
whatever possessions I had. And then he said, "Don't look at me." And he came closer. It flashed in my head, oh my gosh, this man is going to rape me.
You really felt it in your bones that this was going to happen to you?
I really did. At first it was a fear that he was going to kill me. But then I realized that he didn't have any intention of actually killing me. It was just that he was going to rape me.
What happened to you? What was going on inside of you as this was going on?
I don't remember feeling anything. I was in a complete state of shock. I couldn't believe that it was actually happening to me because up until that point, all I had heard is statistics. And it never even occurred to me that it could ever happen.
Plus the fact that you're just 12 years old, and at 12 years old, you don't really have too much of an awareness about the evil and the terror that different people can wreak on you. So you're innocent. I mean, you're innocent. You knew the person, and Catherine did not know the person. Did you know the person, Denise?
Yeah, no, it was a short-term thing. I've actually had a few recurring instances of this happen. I've been modeling for a few years, and the one experience that I remembered most was on a shooting with a hairstylist who I had known, and he was a friend. He was also a photographer. And after about half an hour of being in front of the camera and working with him and almost acting, you know, to sell his hair, to sell his creation practically. I thanked him, and I was leaving the shooting, and he was a Frenchman, and he took me into the makeup room, and he started to force himself on me, and he started kissing me and shoving his tongue down my throat, and he started grabbing me very close. And so I just, you know, fortunately this session was over, and I left, and I was in Italy, so naturally you take trains around, and I had to get to another interview immediately. So there was a friend of mine who worked at a little store. He said that he would take me, so I got in the car with him, and I'm all made up, and I'm.
What are you thinking about? What's going on inside of you, in your heart, in your head?
The fact that I just got paid for something I just did, and to have it end off with a sexual kind of feeling, and that I was all made up. But this is the other part. I got into this car with my friend, and as we were driving, and I was showing him the map where I had to go, he started saying, you know, in Italian, "Oh, you're so skinny," and he started touching me, and I had a halter top on, and he started to put his hand, you know, in my top, and Italians are very open people, and me being one, I understand they like to hug and touch, so I didn't think of anything right away because I knew this man, and he continued to touch and he continued to feel me until I actually had to open up the car door while it was driving, and the door smashed into another car, and I just had to run down the street.
Incredible.
And I wound up getting into the interview in total tears.
What goes on here, Diane? Welcome.
Oh, thank you.
What happens here with all these guys?
Well, that's really hard to say. Rape, as you know, is not a sexual act. It's an act of violence. And 85% of the rapists tend to have been people who were raped themselves, often as children, sometimes even by their own fathers. This, of course, does not excuse what they do. It's just a kind of a background kind of statistic. I think that probably the rapist is a person who is extremely disturbed and who has a very hard time relating to women, and certainly does not like women. In fact, has a real vendetta against them, but usually not against the woman that he's raping, usually against some other woman in his life who gave him a lot of trouble earlier on.
In a recent study by Ms. Magazine, 25% of all women in college have been the victims of rape. And yet, of the women who were raped, 3/4 of them did not identify the experience as rape. Panel, what's going on? Leslie, welcome to Teen Talk, and tell us a little bit about what's happening there.
Well, part of what's going on there, Joseph, is that our entire culture has an idea of rape being something that is done by a scruffy-looking stranger in a dark alley at 2 in the morning. And if the situation is different, people say, oh, that was not rape. Whereas we know that date rape, women being raped by acquaintances, co-workers, dates, is very common. In addition...
That's what Denise was really talking about. She had a date acquaintance type rape. And that's what Leslie also experienced too.
Exactly, and it happens quite a lot. In addition, part of what's going on there in that study is that in our entire culture, again, all of us, women and men, are conditioned to believe that women are responsible for what happens sexually in a dating relationship, that she is expected to set the limits, put on the brakes, and if she is coming on to him or acting provocatively,
or
then
dressed provocatively, I mean,
precisely.
These are the cues, right?
Then somehow what happened is her fault. And if a woman has believed this and thinks it is her fault because she looked nice or she flirted with him or allowed him to kiss her or whatever happened, then if she thinks she's responsible, she's not going to perceive it as a rape herself when in fact it is, and the rapist is responsible.
Diane, you wanted to add?
Well, I have a personal experience with this myself. It was about 20 years ago, and I was on a date with a man, and he raped me, and I didn't know that this was rape at all. I just totally denied the whole thing and felt that it was entirely my fault, that I put myself in that situation, that I deserved what I got, and went for 20 years believing this until, unfortunately, I was raped again. But this time it was by two strangers. And this time I knew it was a rape, but it felt exactly the way the attack had been 20 years ago. And I suddenly realized, my God, that man really raped me.
What are the feelings that permeate your being as this kind of terrible thing is happening?
It's the most incredible betrayal of trust. And I didn't trust, of course, the strangers, but I certainly trusted this man because he was a person I knew. And he totally betrayed that trust. And when I was raped the second time, it wasn't a betrayal, but it was certainly a violation. And the two feel very much the same way. It's like having the rug ripped right out from under you.
What is your experience happened about 4 years ago, Catherine? 4 years ago. You were 12, now you're 16. What happens inside of you? What's been going on in the past 4 years? Do you suspect boys? Are all boys guilty of the same crime that this terrible man did to you?
No, it was like that for the first 2 or 3 months. The one thing that's very hard for me, and it has been for the past 4 years, is staying home alone. Even last night I was home alone for about 45 minutes and it just drove me crazy.
Really?
I prowl around, I check the windows, I check the doors, I make sure that the gate is locked, but not really the suspicion. If people are walking down the street, I wonder if they're going to try anything, but it's not, I don't suspect everyone anymore.
Leslie, you're a very attractive young lady. You're 19 now?
Yes.
You're a very attractive young lady, and I'm sure you get a whole array of dates and guys that are interested in you and want to see you and date you and so forth. What has been the imprint on this kind of very bad news first date experience for you with that young man who was doing his number, so to speak?
Well, unfortunately, it left a real bad feeling in me. My mom started to get real concerned about that because from there on I didn't see any guys. I didn't trust any of them. And then when I did, I went out with a younger guy because I figured a younger guy,
Would
I
never...
have the power over the younger guy.
Oh,
But my mom was real worried about that, and she says, you can't go around the rest of your life not trusting older guys. But it really, I'm very paranoid about it now. I just feel like they're all the same. They all are out for the same thing. And
it's not true, though. It's just not true. You know that.
I know it's not true, but
There
it's just
are a lot of young men and a lot of older men who are really nice people, who are caring people, who would never think or dream of doing those kinds of things. When you get spoken to, when you see all these different ladies who have been defiled and abused and hurt, what seems to be some of the characteristics that seem to come through to you from them?
Well, certainly a lot of feelings of guilt, a lot of feelings of responsibility, and often a feeling of being unclean, somehow being less of a person, less worthy, as if the woman herself has done something wrong, which of course she hasn't.
What do you say to them, Les?
It was not your fault. He had no right to do that to you. However you cope is okay. That's another thing that happens, is that women will feel that whatever they're doing to cope with this experience is somehow the wrong thing, that they should be handling it some completely other way. And it's already been 3 days, and how come I'm not over it yet? And so we need to reassure them that it takes time to get over that kind of experience. And that counseling is very helpful. It's a real good thing for someone to do for herself after an assault.
Some experts agree that men are conditioned to hear yes, that force and sex can be synonymous. She may be saying no, no, but she doesn't really mean it. Experts, do you feel this conditioning occurs for the man? Leslie?
Yes, absolutely, Joseph. At UCLA in 1979, a study was done that showed that up to 42% of high school girls and up to 54% of high school boys felt that it was okay in some circumstances for a boy to force his date to have sex with him, whether she wanted to or not. That is a high percentage. I have heard men say, well, when I was growing up, I was taught that when a girl says no, all it means is I'm not trying hard enough. And I think that's a very frequent kind of attitude.
The mixed messages can be awful. Denise, you have any thoughts about this?
Well, I start to feel at times that maybe I should compromise my personality. I know that sounds kind of funny, but in the business that I've been in too, when you're very open and you don't mind touching someone when you talk to them, it seems to do things to men psychologically. You know, they immediately think, "Ooh, here's an opportunity. Here's
come on, here's a come on."
And it's happened far too often. Not in very dangerous, you know, not to very large extents, but enough that I think, my God, you know, am I really causing this? You know, or is it just something that's happening in their heads?
Well, I don't know. I guess I can remember that so many times the guys would tell me something similar to that when a girl was saying no, she was really meaning yes, and you gotta work on it a little bit. You gotta work on it a little bit. But I did not do that kind of thing. I mean, that was not my MO. I took the no as being a no. There was a kind of rejection in it from me. But at the same time, there was no desire to in any way force someone to do anything like this against their will, against her will.
We need to remember that rape is a crime of violence and power and control, and that in a situation where it's a date or a co-worker, even if there is some element of sexual attraction, yes, he thinks she's beautiful, yes, he would like to have sex with her, that control is still the primary issue. As soon as she says, no, I really don't want to do this, and he says, yes, you're going to do it anyway, the sexuality issue is no longer the important one. The power issue is.
One of the thoughts that I was wondering about is, can you ladies, those of you that have been raped, can you separate the sexual violence of the rape from the realization that there is a thing called sexual love and that there is a passion and an emotion about loving? How do you feel about that, Leslie? Do you have that ability to separate those two?
Oh, yes, definitely. I think definitely when you're in love and you make love, that's something very, very special. But you can't, when someone forces sex on you, they're violating.
It's all take. It's no give and take. You know, you're not participating in that.
It
You
has
know.
nothing to
What do you
with
mean? What do you mean?
Well, you're in a situation that you want to be in, and you're being caused over it. The other person is being caused over it, and it's a working together kind of thing. But when it's totally one person is thinking it, you're almost like his fantasy. You know, like how guys have fantasies of a woman doing this or being this that they see from magazines, and poof, he looks at you, and you may look just like someone in a magazine that he fantasized over, and now here you are in flesh and blood.
Have you been able to make that change?
Oh, I've definitely. In fact, when the strangers raped me, I definitely saw a huge difference in their faces. Just the expression on their faces was an entirely different thing. No man I've ever known intimately ever looked like that during the act. So it's violence, and it's hatred, and it's meanness. Oh, definitely.
So much meanness.
Oh.
Where do you think all that meanness came from?
Well, it's probably different for everybody, but probably a lot of it comes from early childhood experiences, I would guess.
Yeah, it seems so sad, so very sad. What do we do? What do we do? What advice do you give to others about the situation that's involved here? How do you avoid ever making this happen? Catherine, what do you do?
Well, to people that have already been raped, my advice to them is get therapy immediately. I went to a therapy session the day after I was raped. And if I hadn't done that, I don't know what kind of person I would be right now. To people that have not yet been raped, the possibilities of it happening are so great now that I think self-defense classes are very,
I
very
agree with you.
important.
I think it's really important. You've been taking your self-defense, haven't you, Les?
I'm a self-defense instructor and have been teaching for 7
We don't
years.
mess around with you, Hoppy.
You don't mess around with any of us, just us.
What other advice do you give? What do you tell the ladies to do and not to do?
Be aware, be alert, be assertive. An attacker is most often looking for an easy target. And when a woman presents herself as someone who is not going to be cooperative, not going to make it easy for him, if that's possible under the circumstances, chances are he'll go someplace else, and definitely take a self-defense class. It can make a tremendous difference.
Rape is not a crime of sex. It is a crime of force and control of one person over another. If you are raped and deny the experience and don't report it, then you allow the rapist a chance to hurt someone else. Once again, don't walk alone. Never hitchhike. Don't allow a stranger in the door. Be rude and yell if a man's behavior is strange, and always have your keys ready to unlock the car door. If you need more information about rape support groups, you want to call the Response Center at 213-855-3506 or the Los Angeles Commission on Assaults Against Women at 213-392-8381. Panel, I really appreciate your insights, your observations, and the intimacy that you helped us with. For Teen Talk, this is Joseph Feinstein saying we'll see you very soon.